From the Alvin and Rosalie Sarachek studio, PBS Kansas presents Hatteberg's People.
Buckle up for another trip down memory lane to revisit the faces and places of Hatteberg's people.
Coming up, we look back at the hopeful beginnings of public radio in western Kansas.
And we remember Hutchinson's last shoeshine man, a craftsman at the end of his 60-year career.
Plus, the Kansas mom who took the 80s fitness craze to a new level, transforming herself into a competitive bodybuilder.
And we'll also meet the learned man whose high-flying hobby made him one of the best in the world.
Those are just some of the stories queued up and ready to roll for this edition of Hatteberg's People. These stories are like old friends. Their lives radiate from the screen like prophets of the past. They were teachers, but not in a classroom. Instead, they taught about life to those around them who cared to listen, and I was their student.
Whether it's newspaper, television, or radio, local media outlets are struggling now like never before.
Yeah, they sure are. Competition from streaming services and social media are part of the challenge. Now, in the case of public television and radio, the president and the Republican Congress have put local stations in jeopardy by suddenly taking back federal funding that has, for years, helped these nonprofit broadcasters survive. Well, back in 1982, completely different story. At that time, High Plains Public Radio was just getting started here in Kansas and helping broaden the horizons of western Kansans.
Pierceville, Kansas. You remember it. That's the town between Dodge and Garden City that boasts 2 grain elevators instead of 1. Just a wide spot in the road? Sure. And it probably reinforces your image of western Kansas. Desolate, flat, and devoid of culture.
Today we'll be listening to works of the Danish organist and composer Dietrich Buxtehude.
An organ concerto on the radio in western Kansas? It's true. Welcome to KANZ-FM in Pierceville. Located in an old schoolhouse and affiliated with the National Public Radio Network, it's a radio station that some say is bringing the classics to the cowboys.
People have different tastes and they have different needs to listen to different things at different times. And you don't have to listen to KANZ all the time any more than you have to listen to any radio station all the time. It's the diversity and I guess the freedom of choice which is important.
This airwave island of culture is supervised by Quentin Hope, the director of the station. It's his belief that KANZ is not so much a radio station as it is a community resource.
It means that anyone, whether they've got an interest in classical music now or in certain types of news programming or something like that, it does mean that it's available to them. And like as you mentioned, they might just stumble across it on the dial and listen for a while and go back to what they were usually listening to. Or the person might really get engaged in it, find something they didn't know about. But the fact that the signal is there, ready for the taking at any time, I think is very important, that continuous presence.
Virgil Brown farms between Dodge and Garden City, and he's a regular listener of KANZ. And he plows under the myth that Western music is the only music for Western Kansas. Classical music, he says, relaxes him.
Definitely, you come in feeling lots better after 10 hours than you did before when you didn't have anything to listen to. You're also up on all the news, but don't have to get it from your wife.
We'll also listen to the toccata in G minor.
Quentin Hope has described KANZ as a station that stimulates mind and spirit with its programming, but they must still fight stereotypes. When the station first opened, Eastern record companies refused to send the station records because it had no street address. So KANZ employees unofficially changed the name of the town's only main street to number 1 Broadcast Plaza, Pierceville. Now the records come, and community radio continues in western Kansas. I'm Larry Hatteberg.
More than 4 decades later, High Plains Public Radio has become a regional network based in Garden City with an additional studio in Amarillo, Texas. Now, its coverage area includes parts of Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and Colorado. And I remember when I was shooting that story out there that I was on a tractor and the farmer driving a tractor has his headphones on and he's listening to public radio.
That's so cool.
Because there wasn't another radio station that he could pick up.
That he could pick? Are you kidding?
Yeah, no, not where he was, out on the High Plains. And so they relied on public radio for weather, for everything. Everything.
I love how it's named too, High Plains Public Radio. That's an appropriate name for
It is, and if you've been out on the High Plains,
you know.
There's not as much there as we have in Wichita.
Exactly.
You know? So
4 states though, Texas,
Yep.
Colorado, Oklahoma, and Kansas.
Yeah.
Well, as public broadcasting finds a way to survive, the standalone shoe shine business has all but given up the ghost.
Yeah, it sure has. Well, it was way back in 1984 when the last shoe shine man in Hutchinson was in his waning years, looking back on a 60-year career. But he still wasn't ready to give it up.
You know, most of us take for granted our shoes. We put them on first thing in the morning, and then the rest of the day, we forget about them. Well, there's a man in Hutchinson, Kansas who doesn't take shoes for granted. As a matter of fact, he's been shining shoes for over 50 years, and he owns the last shoe shine parlor left in Hutchinson. You'll find him most days sitting and shining. He's 72-year-old Hardin Fuller, and almost everyone in Hutchinson knows him. And the reason why they know him so well is he's been shining shoes there since 1922.
I love it. It's if I'd have to go without work, I don't think I could make it very long.
He used to shine standing at this bench, but now severe arthritis has caused him to sit for most of his work. Still, thousands of shoes have passed through these hands.
A mathematician tried to figure up what I'd shine, and that's been 15 years ago, and he figured 700 and some thousand.
That's a lot of people, but Hardin will be the first to admit you can't get rich shining shoes. And you know what? He doesn't care.
I'd rather, 10,000 times rather sit here in this chair and make my living with my brush than to be getting a free on welfare. I want to earn my own living. I don't have customers, I have friends. Every man and woman who gets to shine for me is my friend, not my customer.
One friend even painted a portrait of Hardin, which he displays proudly in his shop.
Without work, I don't think I could make it. I've worked all my life, and if I start sitting down, well, I'd stiffen up so I couldn't do nothing. I'll tell anybody with arthritis, regardless to how bad it hurts, keep moving, keep moving. Because once you stop moving, you stop for good.
Towards quitting time, Hardin's niece brings in the sidewalk sign. That ends another day, but never talk to Hardin about quitting for good. He won't hear of it.
I always say I'll retire the same day the Pope gets married.
Well, Hardin, you know, that could be a while.
And that's ready for the night.
He may be ready for the night, but you can be sure he's already looking forward to tomorrow. I'm Larry Hatteberg.
Well, Hardin did his best, but the Pope, he never got married, as we all know, and he had to finally give it up. Not the Pope, Hardin. Now, Hardin died in 1988, but he kept going as long as he could because he loved it.
He loved it.
He loved that shoe shine stuff.
And made good memories with that shoe shine. I would venture to say that he had more joy in his life shining shoes for 60 years than we could have in our life all put together with all of our complicated stuff these days that's supposed to make life easier. He had maybe harder, but a lot more joy. I would venture to say that.
I think you're absolutely right about that.
And that's what we're missing. And that's what we love about Hatteberg's people. It brings back the simpler times.
It does.
The joy, the wonder, the simplicity of life.
Yeah.
I love it.
And we learn so much from people in the past.
Absolutely.
You know, we can learn from all of these people and apply what they did and what they learned in their life to our lives.
Because we're still human,
Yeah.
even though it's more
Well,
complicated,
I
we're
think
still
so.
human. Well, as some trends faded in the 1980s, others started revving up. A national fitness craze had many of us doing the Jane Fonda workout and getting physical.
Yeah, it sure did. Now, Sue Levine took it a step further. She was a mom on a mission to go where few Kansas women had gone before.
About 5 years ago, after my third child was born, I went shopping with my friends in a nice dress store here in town, and I couldn't even try anything on with them because I was larger than a size 16. So I decided I needed to do something about that.
Ready? Yep. Let's do her.
Let's do it.
Okay.
I wanted to have more shape and to re-sculpt my body to look the way I want it to look. And you can do that with weightlifting.
Stretch it all the way out. There you go. There you go. Good job.
I dropped 55 pounds, went from 175 down to 120. I really believe that bodybuilding is for everybody, because who couldn't do with some more strength, or who couldn't do with some more firming up and flexibility? And I think all of those are a part of it. I work out 6 days a week for 2.5 to 3 hours, and I have a very planned training program which my trainer, Blaine Welton, helps me, especially on leg day when he's there. And I'm in that squat rack and I'm trying to get that heavy bar up and push it up and push it up and push it up. Do it again, do it again, do it again. You have to have somebody who will really motivate you and push you.
One morning racket. Good job, racket. You did 5 extra reps.
You have to learn to deal with some pain, but then when you're through, it's like you've taken control of something in your life that you've never taken control of before. And it's wonderful. 70. 2.
Good set. Good set. Lift it up. Come on, lift it up. You're done. Good job. Great job.
I never knew I was going to grow up and be an athlete, but I think that's what I've done. I think I know what I'm going to be when I grow up. I'm going to be an athlete. I've done 4 contests this year, a regional one in Albuquerque and the Natural Eastern Classic and Miss Kansas again. And I've placed 3rd or better in all of them. My goal is to train very hard this year and put on some good muscular size, and to go back next year to the Natural Eastern Classic and win that thing. The only limits that we have are those that we place on ourselves. I think the best thing about bodybuilding is that the more you do, the more you can do.
So yeah, good job, good job. You're all done.
Thanks.
Sit down and rest. You need it.
Now, in all her bodybuilding competitions, Sue says she was always the oldest. Now, Sue retired from competitive bodybuilding in 1991 after winning several titles. Now, for many years, she's been working as a yoga therapist and instructor. Her business is called Yoga for You, and it's located right here in Wichita. I'm so glad she kept in with the fitness, though. That's so important.
But she
in people's
evolved
lives. She
into
did.
yoga, which
She
is
did.
very popular now.
Yeah, my
And-
wife takes it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. That is great. Well, another Kansan who went balls to the wall with his hobby was Jeff Perez of Larned.
Yeah, he was one of the world's best model airplane pilots. He told me all about it back in 1984.
In a series of small successes and encouragements, then I'll have a complete landing gear, and then it'll be one big success.
Small successes have made Jeff Perez famous in the sport of model airplanes. Jeff is the 8th best control line model airplane flyer in the world. This B-17 he built from scratch earned him that title.
Now, does that look like the one in the picture?
Jeff spends hours and days and weeks poring over old photographs of how the B-17 was made so his model will look identical. It's tedious work, but the attention to detail is what makes him a winner.
Because it's serious business when the judge is looking at it, judging it. You have to look at every little part because that's what he's looking at. He's looking at your craftsmanship and the fidelity to scale, ingenuity.
It was all those things that brought Perez and his B-17 to Russia last August. Perez was part of this American team, and it was on this field that Perez became the 8th best world control line scale model champion. Only the Russians and Poles beat the Americans. And it was this 11-pound baby that made him a winner.
Yes. The only time you get to show off is when you go fly it, but that's not building it. The only reason you build it is because you enjoy doing it, and that's the only reason there could be.
Jeff practices his air art on the outskirts of Larned. No, you won't get to see the B-17 fly. It's reserved for international competition. But you will see a skilled man dedicated to his hobby.
Model airplanes is about the best hobby there is.
Now, Jeff retired from world competition in 1988, but he still has his airplanes, and now he just flies them for fun. I've always wanted to do that, but I would be terrible at controlling it.
You
My planes would be in the ground all the time, crashing.
But Larry, I think instead of zooming your plane around,
Yeah.
you would crash because you'd be going too slow, looking at what's below.
That's
Oh, look at
possible.
that Kansas
It's not
scenery. Look at that Kansas
Well,
scenery.
you couldn't do it either.
I couldn't either, you're right. The next story was a real puzzler, but Larry was able to piece it all together pretty well. Take a look.
You know what I like about jigsaw puzzles? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. For me, they're boring, but most important, I don't have the patience that it takes to put one of these things together. But fortunately for puzzle manufacturers, most people aren't like me. Take, for instance, this fellow who lives in Syracuse, Kansas.
There's more about the life of Jesus that we do not know than that we do know. Probably there's more about life that we do not know than we do know. But we know enough to enjoy and to praise God.
Just as some find Christianity to be the answer to life's puzzle, the Reverend Don O'Hara of Syracuse finds puzzles to be the answer, at least as a hobby. You see, Reverend O'Hara is a collector, and he collects all kinds of puzzles, from jigsaws to the intricate hand puzzles.
It's very easy except for one spot here at the first wheel.
In Reverend O'Hara's home, you'll find puzzles on his bed, in the kitchen, even in the utility room, in his living room, and virtually anywhere there's a flat surface. Very few people in the United States collect puzzles, so why does Reverend O'Hara do it?
I suppose the challenge of something I don't know how to do and see if I can learn how to do it.
One jigsaw puzzle is made of wood and is considered rare among collectors. The picture on the puzzle is one of the customer's own choosing. 20 years ago, it cost $2,000. So who buys them?
Primarily for anyone who has money, but primarily for Hollywood stars and royalty in European countries.
In another room are hundreds of smaller puzzles and mind games that O'Hara has collected over the years. All puzzles, he says, have one thing in common.
But some of them are designed to make you look dumb. This is one of my best puzzles because it's only 2 pieces. You tell a person it's to form a 3-sided pyramid. They try this, they try this, and they try that. And for some reason, that's all the things they try. And they go back and do those same things. When they're in that position, I tell them to turn one of them 90 degrees. And nearly always, they turn 180. And they've gone right by the solution, and they have not seen it.
Which convinces me that only physicists and engineers should be allowed to work puzzles. In the Reverend's basement is one puzzle not yet complete. 4,000 pieces. He's never had it together.
I gave up because I worked the outside and worked for several hours and didn't get a single piece.
O'Hara says others are interested to hear about his collection, but few want to work any of the puzzles.
The problem is that people, when they're told it's a puzzle, they know they're going to be fooled. And people don't like that.
The Reverend Don O'Hara, a man who as a minister has found the answer to life's puzzle, but likes to have a few of man's puzzles around just for recreation. From Syracuse, Kansas, this is Larry Hatteberg.
Reverend O'Hara retired to a nursing home in Hutchinson in his final years and passed away in 2010 at age 85. Now, shortly thereafter, his collection of 2,300 puzzles was broken up and auctioned off at an estate sale. 2,300 puzzles. You know, I see people doing those puzzles. I don't have the patience.
Me either.
I just can't. I admire the people who do it.
I have so many friends who go on vacation and take a puzzle with them.
Yeah.
And do a puzzle. What?
No.
But it's very relaxing for a lot of people.
I think it is.
I think more puzzles were made during COVID than than last several years put together, I bet.
And I'm glad people do it. Mm-hmm. Not for me.
Most people go into business to make money, but Albert and Alice Uphoff did it to keep busy.
Yeah, the result though was charming old-fashioned store that even back in 1984 was a throwback from the past.
You would probably call it a wide spot in the road, a place in the middle of nowhere. And you'd be right.
We had some friends at McPherson that when we told them we were going to Huntsville, they searched and searched the map trying to find Huntsville. And of course they couldn't find it because it isn't on the map.
Huntsville is a little piece of America snuggled 21 miles west of Hutchinson on the 4th Street Road.
When the lady said, well, how many live there at Huntsville? And I said, 3. They said, 3? I said, yes, Albert, the dog, and me.
Here's Albert, here's the dog, and me is Alice Uphoff.
B-47.
Alice and Albert Uphoff moved from Marion to the AA station in Huntsville last year. Albert had retired, and Alice thought they all needed something to keep them busy.
Thank you, sir. We just couldn't see just getting old satin. So we're firm believers, if you don't want to get old, you better stay busy.
There's another reason why they moved to this place on the plains. 2 reasons, in fact. Their twin granddaughters live nearby and often visit.
Yeah, they get a big kick out of helping Grandma and Grandpa run the store.
Get out of the way.
The dog likes to sit in front of the door. Now, Albert will pump your gas, a rarity these days, and Alice will stay inside and tell you stories.
We get all kinds, and then we get some that are dressed fit to kill. So it hasn't been boring at all. Last week we had 2 sheriff's deputies and 5 prisoners from KSIR here for about an hour and 40 minutes. They'd had a wreck out here on this corner.
Nothing that noteworthy happened on our visit to the corner. The major excitement was Albert finishing up gassing a car.
16 what? I can't see through the thing.
The thing was probably the dog, willing to do anything to get his picture taken for this story.
Oh, doggy. Got a knife? Yeah.
So next time you're driving down that lonesome highway and you see a place like Alice and Albert's, stop in. But don't forget to say hi to the dog. And that's the end of our tale about Huntsville, Kansas. Well, I had to work the dog in some way, didn't I? This is Larry Hatteberg.
Well, it was fun while it lasted. Unfortunately, it didn't last very long for the Uphoffs. They closed the store and filed for bankruptcy later that same year. Some things are meant to be,
And
some things are not. But at least they pursued it.
At least they pursued it, and enough to. But guess what? The business lives on in Hatteberg's people history.
That's right. That's right.
And we just showed you so people could still talk about it and remember it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they do.
Yeah. That is a wrap for this week. Well, now that the federal funding has been taken away, PBS Kansas needs to decide which programs to keep and which ones to cancel.
Now, Susan and I, well, we volunteer our time here, but producing television shows is very expensive. Now, if you'd like to see Hatteberg's People continue, you can go to kpts.org and make a $100 donation to help keep this show funded.
And as a thank you, your name will appear in the closing credits each week as a valued supporter. This is very important. Larry and I love doing, I love tagging along with Hatteberg's People. He does the Hatteberg's People. But we love bringing it to you on a weekly basis. And like I said last week, whether I'm in the grocery store or the gas station, I'm approached by people saying, we love Hatteberg's People. It takes us away. It's an escape every week. And that's just what it is. And we'd love to keep it on the air. So any amount of support you can give us, we appreciate.
Yeah, and I love storytelling, video storytelling on television. And Susan knows this. Susan and I have worked together for 100 years.
100?
100 years. And she knows how much I like it. And she does it too. So we're in it together.
We thank you so much for watching this edition of Hatteberg's People. I'm Susan Peters.
And I'm Larry Hatteberg, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.